Welcome to this week's special edition of the DC Life Uncensored. I'm your host, Sal Mora. I got my co-host, Michael Franco from CageMinds.com. And this is the big UFC 193 special edition. We're going to go through the picks for the main card. And then Mike has got a little special fight that he wants to throw out there as well. That's on the prelims, correct?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start it out. We're going to start with Struve and Roche Hope. What's your pick? That's the curtain jerker of the pay-per-view.
That's the opening fight. You got Struve. I love Struve. He's going to get taken down. He's going to be put on his back. And I think he's going to be able to come out with the submission win. Rochal is going to give him more than enough opportunities to get that because he's going to try to consistently ground him out and grind him out. Unless Rochal just really tries to put the fight against the cage, he can win by decision, but I believe Struve fills off a submission when it hits the ground.
See, and I differ with you on the way the fight's going to happen. I say the fight is going to happen the same way because Stefan is tall, Jared is a wrestler, he's going to take him down, he's going to grind out 3 rounds. It's going to be a boring opener. Be prepared for a boring opener. Get your drinks, get your popcorn, get your burgers together, whatever you want during that fight, because it's going to be a boring fight where you're going to see the wrestler laying on top of the tall kickboxer for 3 rounds, probably in side control, passing the side control and just holding, waiting. And if the refs do actually stand it right back up, it's going right back to the ground. And I see Jared winning the fight in a boring unanimous decision.
Struve has recently been working with the Black Zillions. You think there's any possibility that his kickboxing has come along to where we could see a minute or two of him actually demonstrating some jabs and using his reach? We saw a little bit more of that.
I think he's going to try, but you're going to only see for 30 seconds max. You're talking an elite caliber of wrestler that if he wants to put any of the heavyweights on their back, he's going to. And unfortunately, Struve just doesn't seem strong enough, in my opinion, to be able to get away from Jared on the ground.
I just believe in the resiliency of Struve, and that's why I'm going with him. I guess we're going to move on to our next fight. I'm pretty sure we're going to differ on this one, too.
Uriah Hall and Whitaker.
Robert Whitaker, I love his boxing. He's a southpaw. That can be confusing. He's methodical. I really like him in an upset. A lot of people are going to take this. Yeah, it would be an upset. I like Whitaker taking the upset and hurting Hall. It's going to be that unorthodoxness, but I could always be wrong in an eyelash of a second.
You think it's his boxing that's going to carry him? I think it's Uriah Hall's unorthodox style that's going to actually come out and show a little bit of a difference and give Whitaker struggles, and I see a finish in round 2, late round 2, early round 3.
I kind of believe in the home field advantage, and that's part that's really making me go towards Whitaker. It's going to be that adrenaline. They love him down there. That's why he's on this main card. But the thing that does worry me, and it's been brought up recently, his last loss at welterweight when he moved up to middleweight was Stephen Thompson, an unorthodox karate stylist, and that does fit up Hall's alley, but it does mean that he's seen the style before.
Absolutely. Now we got Hunt and Bigfoot Silva.
Silva's off TRT. He's getting knocked out. Flat, simple.
I have to agree with you on that. I'm picking Mark Hunt as well. The Super Samoan looked phenomenal in the preview videos that I saw of him training at AKA Thailand. I mean, he looks in shape. He looks hungry, and I think it's going to be not the war that it was the first time around, but you're going to see him come out and blast through Bigfoot.
I think even he had to know it was the most ridiculous thing ever the first time they fought, that Cain Velasquez wiped the floor with this guy with punches, but I can't stop him. And then you get the drug test and the elevated testosterone, and now there's no TRT. So I really think there's a huge revenge factor coming for Hunt into this fight.
And the co-main event.
Joanna Champion and Valerie Letourneau is the biggest underdog in UFC history.
22-1 is what the odds are today.
For a reason.
22-1.
I knew if you check out my Red Menace segment earlier on Red Menace TV this week, I went through all the raw numbers, and what it comes down to is, yes, Letourneau is a big strawweight, but she absorbs 4 strikes per minute in her UFC career so far, and Joanna lands 5 strikes per minute. So those numbers are pretty close when Joanna only gets hit 1 time per minute, and and Valerie only lands 2 times per minute in her UFC. So I think the numbers pile up to where this is going to be a beating. I don't think she has the grappling to put Joanna into a dangerous position.
Like Jay-Z always states, he says, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. You just broke down the numbers, and for that reason, and still.
And still, definitely in the co-main event, I think that would be a bigger shocking upset than if our main event happened.
Absolutely. Let's go to the main event. You just mentioned the 22-1 odds on that one. I just checked them right before we started this filming. 21-1 odds. Ronda Rousey beats Holly Holm.
So it got even bigger. It was 20, I believe, yesterday.
It's 21 right now. 21-1.
I think it's gonna probably Saturday night. It's gonna narrow. I believe there's gonna be a lot of late money on Holly. I wouldn't be surprised. Even just the gambling crowd, seeing how it went up, people throwing $100 down just to see what happens.
Heck, but I'm gonna be throwing $100 down right here on iBet, and $100 down on Holly. If she wins, that's some pretty nice chunk of change.
We've seen the best of Holly out here, especially seeing her boxing career. But the one thing that still just worried me throughout everything is we haven't seen her blast anyone with a strong combination with the hands, and we haven't seen her hurt anyone with the hands in MMA. It's going to take a while for her to be able to get the setup, to get one of those devastating kicks off, which, again, we really haven't seen as many in the UFC. I don't think the jitters will be as bad as everyone's suspecting, just because of her boxing career, and she spent actually more time in the octagon than Ronda right now. Ronda's at 18 minutes and 6 fights, and Holly spent 30 minutes and 2 fights. That does bode in her favor, but I think we're getting end still again, and I think Ronda Rousey wins, but I'm thinking it's going to be a 3rd or a 4th round stoppage. I think this will be the hardest test of her career, but I still see it hitting the ground at some point, and she just hits that armbar from so many places, but I think it'll be the biggest test of her career.
She definitely has more tools than Holly. I think Holly's going to give her a whole heck of a lot of trouble. I think it's funny because I was at Classic Barbershop this morning and we were talking about the fight. And Fidel Maldonado Sr., who is a boxing coach, trains his son, Fidel Maldonado Jr., who signed with Golden Boy, was a world champion himself in boxing. They were talking about it and they were saying, watch Holly hit this girl to the body. This girl's does not like getting hit to the body. Watch Holly and Wink hit her to the body, and you may see her knock her out, just like Bernard Hopkins knocked out Oscar De La Hoya with that gut-wrenching hit to the blow to the body. Now, whether it comes with her hands or with her feet, that's another question. So it was interesting to hear them say that because they're watching Ronda from a boxing perspective, and not a lot of people notice that. But I went back and I started looking at some of the highlights of Ronda's fights. When she gets hit to that body, she does not like it. She doesn't like getting hit, period. You saw it in the Miesha Tate fight to the face. She hates getting hit. She can't take very good well punches. But it was interesting to hear that this morning, and for that I give Holly a chance. More of a chance than what I did before. Anything can happen. It's MMA, but like I said, Ronda does have more mixed martial arts skill set. Now, if you stuck him in the squared circle, Holly Holm all day
worker,
long.
yeah. Holly would work her. I think even if it was just a straight kickboxing match,
be over.
But it's that grappling element, and I think it's going to last so long because even in training and being around the camp, Holly has excellent hand fighting skills, so I think it's going to be a while before Ronda can get her hands on her and get frustrated. But it's a Ronda Rousey fight, and I just don't believe that it's going to go 25 minutes without hitting the ground because liver strike, by kick, or a decision, I would say, is Holly's 2 best chances to win. Or it could be a head kick if she's able to hurt her with a left hook to the body and follow up right upstairs with a left kick right behind it. But like you said, the body, and that's where she's hurt a lot of the people lately in the UFC, but she hasn't found that finish, and that's why the finishing machine still feels so daunting to me.
And don't put it past the Jacksons camp and Holly to show off their legs. Only her legs in her first 2 UFC fights, and then now's the time where she's gonna sit down and she's gonna box. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the game plan. It just doesn't shock me if they decide, hey, let's go box this girl.
Right, nothing will surprise us.
Let's hit her with some double jabs. Let's hit her with some overhand rights. Let's cut the angles correctly, and let's not let this girl even see us in there.
That the leather's going to be very important.
If she does that, she can possibly stun the champion. Basically, I mean, it's going to be something totally different. The possibilities there. What I'm concerned about more so, or I should say, shocked about more so, is shame on New Mexico as a whole. It is wild. We are a haterade state, and it's shame on all of us. Yes, Ronda has more tools than Holly inside the UFC cage, but still, what kind of sense of pride do we have in our own homegrown talent? And I see it all over social media. Oh, I'm the only one keeping it real. I'm the only one keeping it 100. I'm the only one doing this and that. That's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Still support your homegrown people. Come on, guys. Crabs in a barrel, New Mexico. It's
crabs in a barrel, but let's get on the media. Let's get on the casinos. Let's get on how many Holly Holm viewing parties are going on.
Millions.
And how many do we have for John Dodson? How many are we going to have for UFC on Fox 17 for Donald Cerrone? And how many will we have for UFC 195 for Carlos Condit? I wish this hype would have all started back when Dodson took on Mighty Mouse for the second time. You want to show that pride? I understand that Holly had so much more at 66, but it'd just be nice to see these people for everyone. I mean, billboards, so many parties. I just hope that we can keep this momentum up. And I'm not trying to be a hater. I just really see that the more tools, that's who I'm picking. But if I'm making the betting odds, I'm saying that Ronda's more like a 3-1 or 5-1 favorite. I don't. 20-1 is just, this is disrespectful. Betch Kohea was dead meat. Alexis Davis was dead meat. But Holly has a fighting chance. She has all the tools, all the skills. She's as dangerous as Kat Zingano and Sarah McMahon combined coming into this fight.
Absolutely. And it's just a shame because you're seeing it across gyms and different gyms are, Holly's going down. I hope she gets her face smashed. Well, guess what? You train MMA. You fight for an organization. When you fight, don't you want New Mexico backing you? It's the same thing. It is the exact same thing. We should be rooting her on because who knows? One day you may get to a title shot. And I'm not speaking to anyone in particular. I'm speaking to everyone. One day you might be that top dog in whatever profession you're in. And don't you want to be pride and say, hey, look, I'm from New Mexico? It's very weird to me, and I was thinking about it. Danny Romero got so much hate. Austin Trout never really popped here as a champion. The only champion that every New Mexican loves is Johnny Tapia, the late, great Johnny Tapia. And that's the only one. That's it. And it's crazy, and I'm like, I just don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't know, especially with us not having any professional teams. I mean, we all love the Isotopes in a way, but
minor league.
But nothing big has ever caught on. I mean, I think it will happen because of the magnitude of the upset, the publicity, I think we'll see a parade. Literally, we will see a championship parade if Holly wins. But it's too late because it should have started when Carlos won.
People will still be complaining. Hey, it's not too late though because Carlos goes in January. He wins the title. We got 2 homegrown
So it should start there and it needs to continue. New Mexico, this is what we have. We have world champion combat sports fighters from WBC guys that hold WBC green belts up to the UFC titles, and even some guys attempting for Bellator titles. It'd be great if we started treating them, our homegrown talent, like our home teams. Giving them parades, giving them this billboard and radio time, just building everything up.
And so we're both in agreement that Ronda Rousey holds more tools to win inside the UFC cage. However, I am rooting for Holly. I am absolutely rooting for Holly. She is homegrown from New Mexico, absolutely.
Oh, rooting who am I be yelling at the TV for? Yeah, Holly. That'll be what I'm doing. But who am I picking? I'm trying to give a non-biased opinion here.
No, I understand, but that's where we both agree that hey, look, it's gonna, the odds are that Ronda should retain her title, based on skill sets, I should say. Ronda Rousey should retain the title. Am I hoping that happens? Absolutely not. I am rooting for Holly 100%, as every New Mexican should, regardless of gym, race, anything. Anything. If you're from New Mexico, you should be backing the New Mexico people. It's ridiculous that we're not doing it, and it's a shame that we're not seeing that more throughout the social media. And not surprising though. I mean, we are New Mexico, and we're where we're at because for a reason.
Well, numbers don't lie, and here were some numbers I was looking at. Of course, we have a much bigger span to judge from for Ronda, but I believe Ronda's up at somewhere around a 50 to 60% striking accuracy, and Holly, for her volume, because she's a volume striker, is only down at 30%. So it's activity. It's really going to be a lot of activity, I believe, is the key for Holly, too, because she's going to have to confuse her, and she's going to have to keep leather in her face to not give her a clear target to come at her, and also keep her moving to try to tire her out.
And speaking of picks, what was your last pick?
Oh yeah, this is a pick for the fight that people aren't talking about, but they knew to. Akbar Arreola and Jake Matthews. It is the top fight of the prelims on Fox Sports 1, but if there's ever going to be a UFC Australian champion, it's either going to be Robert Whittaker or Jake Matthews. They're the two top fighters, I believe, out of that country, and you got to keep your eyes on Jake Matthews and what he's going to do on Fox Sports 1 on the free fights in the main event of that portion.
Well, that's our picks for UFC 193. You will see us next week when we see if our picks are correct. We'll break down the card. Do you want to make a friendly bet on the fight? I'll go with Holly. You go with Ronda.
Sure, we can do this.
Lunch?
Lunch.
Sounds good to me. We got the bet going. That's it for this week's edition of the DC Life Uncensored. We will be here. The Fight Shop will actually have a UFC viewing party for this and every fight. We always do at Uptown Sports Bar and Grill. And look what I found, an autographed Holm damage control mouth guard that I found in the back of our offices here at the Fight Shop, New Mexico. We're going to be giving that away free, so come join us at Uptown Sports Bar and Grill tomorrow night. We also got a Holm t-shirt, the official Fresquez Productions t-shirt for Team Holm. And we got a Kyle Noak autographed mouthpiece as well. So come on out. Pay-per-view starts at 8 p.m. Prelims start at 6 p.m. Micah, you're going to be out at Route 66 Casino for their big Holm fight party. You're going to be getting some video behind the scenes.
Get some predictions, some reactions, CageMinds.com, Cage Minds MMA show on YouTube. And then also for next week, we'll have our reactions for this. And I got to get Sal's opinion, and I'm going to show him Legacy. Tonight they're throwing MMA and kickboxing, so we'll see how the joint event goes. I know how you love those.
I will make sure and set my DVR for Legacy Kickboxing MMA. That's it for this week's special edition of the DC Life Uncensored UFC 193 style.